Okay, so today we are joined by Julia Fecho from Sora Schools, which is, like I said, an online school and that offers an education to fit in with students' needs and schedules. And obviously here at Stage Agent, we are particularly interested in performing arts students and how they can balance their education with their passion, especially if they have a working life in the performing arts. So Julia, could you maybe kind of just tell us a bit about the background of Sora and the types of students it's geared towards?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the beauties of Sora's program is that it is geared to pretty much every type of student that is out there. We allow every student to come to Sora and pursue their passions. We've seen that, particularly with students who are involved in the performing arts, it can give them this wonderful, space and flexibility to pursue those interests, to be able to have the time to do it, to not have to, I was actually a performing artist. And so I remember sitting and, being like, I have to do my math class before my math homework before I go to rehearsal. And then I have an audition on Saturday. So when am I going to do my project? And, so it gives students the space to have a more flexible schooling schedule. They can take it with them, right? It's a virtual program. So you can, take your laptop and log in, whether you're on set or on tour or, happen to be at home. And, it allows our students to also incorporate their interests into what they're learning. So we're really focused on creating an education that, focuses on the real world application of what am I learning. So we're not just, cramming your head full of knowledge and sending you out into the world knowing about, random dates in history, but, also building for you a skill set of, tools and knowledge and skills that are going to be able to carry with you into the future, no matter what your next step is after high school.
Amazing. And yeah, you're right about the kind of the flexibility, because I think especially now, I think even I don't know if you've noticed, but post-COVID especially, that kind of, it's hard enough to get a dentist appointment within school for your kids, right? Let alone if you're they have an audition, they have rehearsals, they have that kind of, I guess the red tape, the paperwork for schools, trying to fight that whilst, trying to get that options for your kids is really hard, right?
Right. Yeah, it's really difficult. It's always been, I think tricky to balance that for families, but you're so right. Particularly after COVID, schools are so worried about making up time and, making up the lost ground. And so they want students to be there, which is understandable, right? We also want our students to be present and, be part of our learning community. But I think one of, the real strengths of Sora is that school doesn't have to be a place, right? You don't have to worry about being close enough by that I can, make it to school from 9 to 3, and then I have the rest of my day. You can pack up the laptop, you can take it with you. We have students who are logging in from, their trailer on set, or they're, at their dance studio, and they're logging in between, intensive rehearsals. And they have, the ability to do that and not stress about it, right? And parents aren't having to sort of make those decisions for their student and say, I would love for you to be able to, be out working in the performing art, doing what you love, but I also have to have you go to school, right? There doesn't need to be this trade-off. You can have both with Sora.
Which is amazing. Yeah. And so do you find there's kind of particular traits or personality, characteristics of students that work best in this kind of flexible schooling?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a different environment than being in an in-person school, right? You don't have the teacher necessarily standing over your shoulder saying, put the worksheet in your folder, put it in your backpack, take it home, make sure you do your homework. So it does require, a level of independence in students and motivation and, sort of also creativity. Sora is also a project-based program. So there's, a lot of that and, critical thinking and also self-advocacy is really important, for our students, because they have to be able to, reach out to their instructors and say hey, I have a question, I want to, talk more with you about this. And I think all of those, are traits that we're looking for in students who are coming to Sora, but also are hugely important to students in the performing arts. I think about, all of those traits as being so important if you're going to be, a working actor, because it's not a normal 9 to 5 desk job environment, right? And so, you have to be able to manage your time and know, I got a rehearsal and then I got an audition and, all of that. So I think there's a lot of overlap in terms of that, and so we're looking for those things in students who are coming into the program, but we also don't expect students to come in, being masters in every single one of those, right? They're adolescents and they're learning and growing, and it's an environment where we can help to foster those skills in them. Like I said, we're not just focused on the academic content that we're educating students in, but we're also really focused on, sort of those abilities and skill sets and soft skills that they're going to need no matter where they're going, just as well-rounded human beings, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah, you're so right. And of course, like we all know, performing arts kids, like very many other areas, but have it all going on. So that
Yes.
kind of, those characteristics are definitely in there. And you mentioned like the project-based learning in terms of the curriculum. Like, how does that work? Does it differ from middle school to high school, or is it a similar ethos throughout?
Yeah, so we break through those barriers of your traditional school subjects. So if you think of the classes that most of us took in school, it was very siloed, right? It was math and then science and then English and then history and maybe you had a little bit of art and music off, once a week you have to go to those specials. But for our students, they're taking an interdisciplinary approach to education. So classes at Sora fall into three broad categories. So math, STEM, and humanities are sort of our three buckets of learning, but you're going to see overlap, in between those, right? You might be, looking at, scientific literature. You might be looking at, the social studies of math or, any number of countless, sort of combinations there. But our students are, sort of approaching these topics in these interdisciplinary ways. And instead of gearing up to take, a stressful test at the end and get that grade, they are sort of creating culminating project work in all of their classes, and they get to find ways to weave in their interest into this. So we had a student of a class that's focused on sports technology. And we had a student who was a dancer, and she did a project where she designed a more comfortable point shoe. And she did all of these, tests, and she has all this scientific data to back it up, and, tried every different, stuffing and padding and all of this, in order to do something that actually was beneficial to her. She was then, wearing these shoes that she had created and prototyped, for her rehearsals. So, we want students to be able to say, these are the things that I'm passionate about, and to be able to see and marry them together with, these core academic subjects that we want them to, also have working knowledges in.
Yeah, and I love that, because it's like, it really fosters that creativity, but in a real world application, which is brilliant, I think. And obviously, you guys are online, so how do you kind of foster community? Because obviously, I mean, like for the average kid, right, school is all about your friends, your community, where you hang out, all that kind of jazz. So with an online school, how do you kind of work that in?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is something, that we have been really intentional about in creating and fostering this vibrant, inclusive, engaging, student community. We know that a lot of families have, maybe have some fear or trepidation about this. A lot of us have experience with not so optimal online schooling, sort of during COVID time. And that was, a byproduct of the world, needing to pivot in a moment. But, Sora is a school that was built to be online. And so we've had, the ability to be really intentional about this. So students have a house. So this is sort of their homeroom or advisory group. It's a small group that they see day in and day out. And that becomes, a really core social group for them. They also, have live classes. So it's not an online program where it's, hey, watch a video, do sort of an independent, thing. And maybe you get to talk to a teacher once in a while. There's a ton of FaceTime. Students have about 3 to 3.5 hours of live, FaceTime during each school day where they're interacting. And then we have a ton of just like fun social opportunities. So we have clubs and committees and extracurricular programs for our students who are more interested in, performing arts. We do have a drama club that was, by popular request. We had a bunch of students saying like, my friends who are in public school are, doing their play. And we were like, fantastic, let's make it happen. So we have drama club after school. We also have we're teaching an on-camera acting course. So there's a ton of ways for students to be able to find their niche in the Sora community. All of those clubs that I mentioned are student-led and student-generated. So, I always say, if you can dream up a club, like, you can make it happen here at Sora. Even if you don't see your niche interest, represented, it ranges everything from gaming and reading to, I think there's a Michael Cera fan club. I'm not sure why everyone is obsessed with Michael Cera, but that has popped up this year. We've had like horror movie clubs. So, there's really every interest is really well represented in the community. And I think that allows our students to be able to find their people in Sora's program. And so I've actually heard from students that, they feel like they can actually make stronger connections at Sora potentially than they could in an in-person school. Because if you think of it, in an in-person school, you're connecting with people who live in your immediate neighborhood, and maybe they have the same interests as you, and maybe they don't. I was a kid that grew up in the middle of, sports football country. And I was like, I am obsessed with, musical theater and dance. And I was like reading Les Mis when I was 12. So I was like, these are not my people. But our students, because we have this really diverse student body, we pull from 47 states across the US. We have 15 countries represented. It really is cutting this wide swath of the population. You're really able to find, those who have potentially these really, really similar niche interests to you.
Yeah, you're right. I was just going to say, it does sound like it's kind of that ability to find your people and possibly cutting out some of the more awkward, embarrassing high school moments that we all have. Who knows? So at the obviously at the end of this, do kids come away? Are they, obviously you guys are fully accredited, right? So they come away with the kind of the same levels of diploma, etc., that their contemporaries have, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are fully accredited by two different agencies. So WASC and Cognia are our accreditors. So students are graduating with a full high school diploma. They're not missing out on any of that. They're really well resourced if they want to pursue, university studies. About, the vast majority of our students will go on to, post-secondary education. But we also have a lot of students who, take an alternate route, who say, I want to go to a conservatory maybe, or I want to do an apprenticeship or an internship, or I just want to dive right into the workforce, so we resource them well for that. We have, we don't really refer to it as a college counseling process. We refer to it as a life after Sora counseling process, because it starts not with the question of where do you want to go to college, but, what do you want to do after Sora? And then we will, sort of take that idea and resource students to run from there.
Brilliant. Cool. And so if anyone's watching this and they want to find out more, or where they need to go to, where can we send them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to start is just on our website, soraschools.com. On there, you can watch, we have a brand new 12-minute info session recording. So that is a fantastic sort of nutshell version of everything you need to know to get started at Sora, all about the program, the curriculum, the community, some next steps. From there, our admissions team is here to, to sort of walk with you through the process. So you can start with an intro call with us. We have, different visit opportunities for students. We'll help walk you through the application process. But that best first step is just to hit the website, soraschools.com.
Amazing. So we will put all the details in the blurb below, so you can guide everyone there. And yeah, it was great to chat to you and great to find out more. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alex.